Well, I'm very excited to share. About 9 years ago, someone was kind enough to introduce me to these products in this company, and I actually didn't think I needed them, but I really wanted my kids to take them, so I got started, and I'm so glad I did because I have gotten great relief with, I had very severe eczema on my hand. I couldn't tie my kids' shoes or hockey skates without cracking and bleeding, and then I went on to get results with something called restless leg syndrome, which I've had since I was a kid. I had anemia, and so I had very low energy at times during the day. I would almost be crashing my car, falling asleep driving, and with the low iron in my blood. And now my blood work is really perfect, and I have probably about 4 or 5 more hours of energy in every day, which is a real blessing because I have 5 kids and I teach preschool, so I need lots of energy, and it's been also a great preventative for me. As I said, I teach preschool, so I'm with kids who are very generous with their germs every day. And I have, in 9 years, I haven't had a cold or a flu or anything. And I was always generally healthy, but I didn't, I got sinus infections and colds and things like that, and I really don't anymore. So that's a great blessing. And my kids as well, and as well as my mother, have also gotten great results. I had a daughter who had very severe seasonal allergies along with some food allergies, and no medications really helped her. She was on prescription medications and steroids and things like that, and still suffered tremendously. And once we got her started on the Relive product, she enjoyed her first spring season in years and has been able to enjoy spring and fall ever since. And I have a son who also had eczema head to toe from the time he was a baby. He would have very severe scratching and little cuts all over his body, and also same thing, steroid medications and things like that, which I really hated to put on him but needed to give him some kind of relief. And the relief was only really kind of minor from the medications, but got him started on the Relive, and it helped him with the eczema. He's got soft, beautiful skin, and it's also helped him with focus in school. And, truly that his teachers were wondering, he's just not the same child that he had been in previous years when he went into school once he got on the product. So that was a real blessing for him and for us. And then my mother has, she's 83. She has something called non-diabetic retinopathy, which causes little aneurysms in your eyes, and she was having some trouble with her vision, and they wanted to give her steroid shots in her eyes, and she didn't want to do that. So she had been taking Relive and had great results overall, but we tweaked it a little bit when she got that information, and she went back for a check in 4 months when they wanted to start the shots, and we were blessed to find out that she the aneurysms had stabilized. Her vision actually improved, and that was about 1.5 years ago now, and every 4 months she still goes because she needs to be monitored for this. And she has recently gotten, at 83, a new prescription for her eyeglasses, which is a lower prescription because her eyes are so good, and she never needed those steroid shots in her eyes. And so at 83, she drives, she travels, she's, a little spitfire. So we are really blessed to have found these products, and it's been a blessing for all of us.
Absolutely. So, your mom had some skin issues as well?
She did. I think, obviously the eczema is probably a genetic thing because I had it, my mother had it, my son had it, and I think it's an autoimmune thing. So my mother had, actually when we were kids, we lived overseas, and her eczema was so bad, I remember her coming back to the States for treatment. And so it was something she dealt with all of her life as well. And since she's gotten on the Relive products, it's been absolutely no issue. So the three generations have had great results with pretty significant eczema. So
that's awesome.
It's been a real blessing.
Absolutely. Amy, thank you. Appreciate you joining
us.
You're
so welcome. Thanks for asking me to share.
Thank you. Well, we're going to head over to the other side of the country. From Massachusetts, we're going all the way over to Oregon. Real treat. I absolutely love Rhonda Petrosik's story. Her whole family's had some wonderful results, and it's our pleasure to have her join us tonight. So, Rhonda, we'd love you to share.
I'd be happy to. My name is Rhonda Petrosik, and I live just outside of Eugene, Oregon. originally from the South, though, from Louisiana. A friend shared Relive with me 8 years ago in January when I was telling her that I had fibromyalgia. And I began taking the products. Not only did I get amazing results with my fibromyalgia, but I also had IBS, spastic colon, was lactose intolerant, began having major PMS issues after having my little boy. I was actually having some social phobia, and I'm a very outgoing person, so I knew something was not right. And just got amazing results with my pain level, no longer have the tummy issues whatsoever. No, I'm no longer am I lactose intolerant, and I can't even tell when my cycle is coming because I don't feel like I'm crawling out of my skin the week before. So I've gotten amazing results in all of those areas. I started my mom on the products at the same time because she too had fibromyalgia, but she also had been exposed to rocket fuel. Many years ago, there was a spill in southern Louisiana, and my mother was outside working that day. The very next day, she began having seizures. Soon after that, she had a stroke. We were told that she probably would not live throughout that year, and she was only in her 40s at the time. So it was just devastating to our family. She was so very sick. She wound up getting not only memory loss from it, but she also began to have major problems with her lungs. She actually got asthma and COPD from that chemical exposure. So fast forward, she came to live with us because she was getting to the point where she was losing her memory, not only her short term, but her long term. So it was getting to the point where if she went more than a mile in her car, she would get lost. So it was very devastating. She had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. She had a whole host of issues. And my mom got amazing results with these products. She came to our home, and we thought that she only had a couple of years longer to live, even though she was in her 50s. She was so very sick and was falling down, getting concussions left and right. She was just a very sick lady. And we saw it was almost like just flipping on a switch in her life, really. Within 3 months, she was beginning to get her memory back. The fifth and sixth month, she was getting amazing results with her arthritis and with her fibromyalgia pain. Then she took a trip and went to stay with her sisters, where she stayed in their home, and they both smoked in their home. That would have put her in the emergency room because of the issues with her lungs, but she never had to take a breathing treatment, never had to take anything for her asthma. She just did fantastic. So at that point, we began meeting people who were very sick like she was. They were taking more product, and we began giving her more. And in the 10th month of being on these products, my mother announced that she was medication-free. She'd actually began weaning herself off the products, which you should never do without your doctor. So, of course, I brought her into our doctor and said, she stopped taking all of her medicines. What do I do? And our doctor did a complete physical and said, I don't know how to say this, but her high blood pressure, her cholesterol, all of that, her blood work is perfect. She's breathing fantastic. She says that she's waking up very clear-minded, so I don't even think that she needs her CPAP machine anymore. I mean, she just did amazing. So at 1 year after beginning these products, my mom moved out of our home back to Louisiana, and she's been newly married for 4 years now. She's in her 60s, and she is a very healthy lady. She just has a huge garden and goes hunting and does all the things that she enjoys doing, which we just never, ever saw coming. So that happened, and that summer, as we were hearing more stories, just like people out there are doing tonight, I began hearing stories about children taking the products. And at that point, I had a little boy who was an extremely picky eater. He could barely speak. He did not get eye contact with people. And we began getting the products to him just because I didn't feel like he was getting the nutrition he needed. Well, the month after we started Wyatt on the products, we got the diagnosis of pervasive developmental disorder, which meant that he was on the autistic spectrum, which explained why he began talking very young and completely regressed. He called everything da. He would eat anything you'd put in front of him. And at about 2 years old, he began refusing all food, and then he would only eat granola bars. So we got him on the products. Within 2 months, he was speaking beautifully, and his speech therapist could not believe it was the same child. So she actually was able to graduate him from speech therapy after 2 years with a very little difference. He just bloomed overnight. That happened. He began getting eye contact with people. He began interacting with his toys instead of just lining them up. He had a lot of OCD behaviors. And he just continued to blossom before our eyes. And at the 1-year point for Wyatt, we were able to put him in kindergarten. He was 4 going on 5. And about 6 or 8 weeks into the school year, the teacher wanted to see my husband and I both. So I just knew she was going to say, he's just not ready for school yet. And instead she said, I just wanted to look you both in the face and tell you I've been teaching for 17 years. And if you had not told me that Wyatt had autistic traits, I would never have known. He is a joy. He's very smart. He's very social. So fast forward, Wyatt just started 6th grade. He's an absolute joy. People have no idea he was ever on the spectrum. He's very smart and, again, very social.
Let me mute those lines again. Hold on.
Tourette syndrome, which runs in our family. And that's the other thing is I do not believe Wyatt will ever have to take medication because if he has a day where he feels he's a little bit more anxious, he just says, Mommy, can I have an extra shake? And I say, absolutely. I mean, he really notices a difference of when he drinks his shake and when he does not. So it's just really exciting that our family has gotten such not just results, but life-changing results. I cannot imagine, I don't know that my mother would still be alive, and I cannot imagine my little boy without these products. He just has a completely normal life, and he did not have a normal life before these products. So we are so grateful that we found them.
Absolutely. Powerful story. I mean, you got your mom back, you got your son back, you got major results yourself. Rhonda, it's a real blessing. Thanks so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, now I have a treat for you. I met a gal named Rose Benigno, and Rose has a really interesting story. And Rose, we'd love you to come on and share. So, Rose, if you hit *6 earlier, you would need to do that again. I still can't hear you, Rose. We'll give her a moment. See if she can get herself in. Well, Rose, I can't hear you yet. So I tell you what we'll do. We're going to go on. Rose, I'm going to give you a chance to come in.
I started in Relive coming in through the back door. My family, my wife and children and sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and many neighbors that my wife had going on these products for almost a year before I felt that the Relive products could help me. I've been dealing with a debilitated, painful back condition all of my life. From the time I was 21 years old, I was going to the chiropractor 4 days a week for treatments. And by the time I was 28, the chiropractor released me and said that my condition was beyond his scope of expertise and to seek someone more qualified like a orthopedic doctor. And I bounced around until I found a doctor that actually did help me, and he put me in a body brace, that customized orthotic body brace, and told me that I needed surgery. However, that surgery was extremely risky, that there was a 50% chance it could put me in a wheelchair the rest of my life. But after a couple of years of wearing that brace and taking tons of painful medication, I had surgery, and even though the doctor said that the surgery was a success, I would continue to experience back pain. He said that is something I can't help you with. He told me I had severe arthritis, degenerative disc disease, and some scoliosis in my back. And I was 35 years old at the time, and they wanted me to go on disability for the rest of my life. But he gave me one piece of advice: to go for a walk, try to get my heart raised a little bit, get the blood going, circulated my body, get some oxygen breathing. And so I used to go for walks until I took my kids to the gym one day and introduced them to basketball, and I was concerned that the referees weren't doing very good, so someone said, "Can you do better?" I said, "Of course." So I started refereeing little kids basketball, and actually that was my exercise that the doctors let me do. I could walk up and down the court, and I got paid to do it. But after a short time, I got promoted to do middle grade, junior high, and then after a couple of years doing high school. And I would come home every night and do the treatments on my back. I did everything that doctors told me to do. I had the whirlpools, I had the heating pads, I did stretching exercises, I had books, I had everything. And after a while, those treatments weren't working. And the pain and everything that the doctors warned me about was starting to happen. And it got to a point where I couldn't referee, I couldn't run the court. I struggled to get in and out of a car. I struggled to walk up and down stairs, and many mornings sit on the end of a bed and put on my shoes and socks. And so I came to my wife, and I said that I was going to resign from basketball, and she introduced me to Relive. And again, my skepticism was just so bad that I didn't think it could help me, but it was stories that just gave me so much hope, and I got on the product and continued to take it. And man, all I cared about was getting back on that court, and boy, within 90 days, I was running up and down the court again. And it's given me my life back, because, I was told I could never do anything. I was told I'd never work in the yard, never, ref, never shovel snow. And today I do everything. I do all that. I play golf. I can ride a bike. I've water skied. And it just allows me to live my life on my terms, not the doctor's terms. And after that, my wife suggested, you go to a meeting with me. And I came through the door kicking and scratching, thinking this was not something that I really was interested to learn about. But I met some of the most wonderful people in all my life that were so generous and kind-hearted that after that my wife said, would you like to go to a conference? Because she had already been to the international conference a couple of times by herself. And so she invited me to St. Louis, and I came home, and I just couldn't believe it, what I heard and what I saw. And all I told my wife is, why don't more people hear about Relive? So I have taken the time to do this business. I work it part-time, but with a full-time attitude around my officiating and other work that has given me so much opportunity to help other people, and the company has blessed me for that. It was actually a year ago today that we are getting ready to go to Quebec City that Relive sent us on for an amazing trip to spend time with the ambassadors of the company and the corporate leadership, and we had a tremendous fun time. And I became a key director, and just this past May, I earned a Dr. Ted Kalogris plaque. And this is not really about anything more than just giving people the hope and the opportunity to hear about what Relive could do to change their lives. And I'm very grateful. I won't be able to ref for the rest of my life as I get older, but I sure will be able to do Relive, and I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. And your daughter, she's used the products. She was a college basketball player?
That is true. And, she called home one day from college when she was diagnosed with severe shinsplits that the team wanted to redshirt her from the team for her freshman year, and my wife insisted she get the products into her. I argued no, that I didn't want to interfere with the university for fear they would revoke her scholarship. So I lost the argument and drove out to the university, gave my daughter the product, and she took a lot of it, and 4 or 5 days later she was back in the gymnasium with the team, and it was amazing that the conditioning coaches, the head basketball coach, the trainers, the doctors, everybody was there warning her that she was risking permanent nerve damage in her legs if she continued to play. But they examined her, and those shin splints were over 90% dissipated at the time, and they didn't understand. Nobody could understand how she could have healed so fast. So she said, "Well, my parents gave me this stuff." And they were concerned. They drove to her dormitory, and they confiscated the Relive product and sent it to the NCAA for a banned substance abuse, and the NCAA came back to the university and said, "Keep taking it. This is great." My daughter played 4 years of college basketball, never missing a game because of injury. And that doesn't mean she was never injured. I mean, she's had some serious injuries, but she always rebounded and for the next game and stayed faithful to the product. And her career today is she is a licensed registered dietitian. She studied nutrition and because of what Relive did for her that freshman year, and works in a wonderful profession today, helping people, guide them with the value of what nutrition can do in their lives. And she promotes Relive as much as she can, and it's just another blessing that how something like that opened up her opportunity for a career that she's absolutely loving.
That's great, Dave. Now, if Rose made it back in, we'll get Rose on the line here. But you were part of the process with Rose, and Rose is a massage therapist and has a really interesting story. And we'll see if Rose, if you're in, we'd love to get you back on. So, I don't know. Anyway, if Rose if you...
Those people, to me, it's amazing. Yes, I am Marcia Flegel from St. Mary's, Ohio. I'm a homeschool mother. I've been doing homeschooling for 29 years. I have 10 children, 2 left at home yet. I'm a year-round swim coach, just getting ready to start up again in short course. I struggle with acid reflux, chronic yeast, joint pain, hair loss. I was not really sure, Bill, that these powders could really work because I had already been juicing, eating organic, taking a handful of supplements. And to add to the skepticism, my husband as well as 4 of our children are also doctors. So the truth of Relive has come in now and touched our entire family. We all got results. All of our children are athletes, mostly swimmers. One son, in fact, is training right now for his second Olympic trials. And just knowing that my children and my grandchildren are getting the best possible nutrition into their body gives me great peace, and I'm very grateful to Relive for that. I just tell everyone, once I knew the truth of Relive, I spoke with enthusiasm, passion, and authority because I knew what I had a hold of. The checks of the heart started coming into our household. A few hundred turned into a few thousand. I average anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000. My highest month has been over 6,000. My highest year, the accountant kind of blew me away because he said, Mrs. Flegel, by you doing this very part-time, you've earned over 66,000 in all forms of income for that year. Well, I also enjoyed those 3 all-expense-paid trips. Costa Rica and Mexico, they were absolutely amazing. I love this company. I love the people. I love the culture. If someone, you see, wasn't willing to do the business, I would have never gotten the help I needed. I don't know where I would be today. You know, another aspect of Relive that I really, really love is also the fact that I'm feeding children all around the world every day, in Philippines, Haiti, Malaysia, and other third world nations. To think that they can feed over 40 children with 1 can of Kids Now is so amazing. The before and after pictures brings tears to my eyes. And, you know, I've always wanted to leave some kind of legacy. Well, you know what? I found that in Relive. I'm very honored now to represent this company. I want all of you to dream bigger with Relive. You know, if you have a dream, you can achieve it, and just tap into the dream that God's already given you. Relive brought me hope. Now I can give that same hope to others, Bill, and I love it.
Absolutely. Wow. Now, you mentioned that, did I hear you right, your husband and some of your kids are doctors?
Yes, my husband is a dentist. 4 of the children also are doctors, 2 internal medicine physicians.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's kind of a mini health, and one of our daughters also a dentist, and then another cardiovascular research for University of Missouri.
Well, that's quite interesting. And so what was their response? What was your husband's response when you first looked at Relive?
Well, we were desperate for answers because between my children and my husband, they were sending me to the best health care that they knew. My oldest daughter actually had done some intern work with a specialist with hormones and all of this in Dayton, Ohio. I ended up going to all these different specialists, but once I ended up there, 2 months of testing, they said there wasn't anything they could do for me, that I would continue to deteriorate. So when I told the kids, I said, you know what, I've done your route. And, of course, they were all, at that time they were pretty negative. They were certain that this was some kind of a scam. And I said, what do I have to lose? After all, I'll dig into these products, and it's 100% money-back guarantee. And, Bill, within 2 weeks, I had a sense of wellness I hadn't had probably in 10 or 15 years. Wow. So they all saw that. And then two of my boys primarily were nationally ranked swimmers at that time, and they were going through a lot of issues with their shoulders, and then of course Josh, most of the Relive world knows about him. He always had dreams of going to the Olympics. Well, those dreams are getting closer and closer, and just received his second Big Ten ring. We just found out that it came in this week, but that would have never been possible if I didn't get those boys on the product. They just gradually, and as a coach, Bill, watching them being able to train harder and more yardage and hitting the weights, all these things were what they needed to do. And before, like I said, eating organic and measuring out the fish and chicken, it wasn't getting it. And then Relive just came in and filled their cells in such an amazing way.
That's wonderful. So you've had quite an experience watching your family use these Relive products, and you've seen it firsthand in the sports world here. It's quite a joy to see it right before your eyes.
Oh yeah, and as a coach, we have several of the families that are taking the Relive products, and I start back up again short course on Monday, and inevitably every year they see these kids that are able to train harder, cutting time, and they wonder, what is that stuff we're drinking all the time? And it's just an amazing thing. We've seen all kinds of things, kids getting off of Ritalin, kids that were ADHD, all kinds of things. And this is the joyful part, is just being able to pass on the amazing information that we have through the Relive products.
Right.
Well, yes, I'm a medical massage sports therapist here in Chatsworth, California. And I was introduced to the products by one of my own clients that had some problems with Crohn's, and I saw him getting healthier. So I was wondering, what is he doing? And he told me about this, and at first I was a little skeptical, like everyone else. And Dave called me, and I didn't believe what he said, but I went ahead and did my research behind Relive, and I was very impressed. So I went ahead and ordered the product and gave it to my granddaughter, and she loved it. But what's so interesting is that I use the calls that are recorded to share with other people that I work on. One of my friends, Jody, who has fibromyalgia and has other issues also with her health, I got her on a call, and she said, I'm going to try this because it goes down to the DNA level. And I was so impressed with her. She can do so many things that she couldn't do before. She had a cane, and she doesn't need the cane to walk, and so she's doing great. I really, I'm very, very proud of her. And then, of course, I have another friend of mine who is a registered nurse. She's retired. She kept saying how tired she was, and, of course, I put her on another call while I'm working on them. And what happened is that she said, okay, I'll try the product. She came back afterwards for another treatment. She says, when I get up out of bed, I can hop out of bed really great, where I couldn't do it before with this Relive product. So she really enjoys it. But most of all, my granddaughter, who has apraxia, this is a disorder from the connection from the brain to the vocal cords, and she also was diagnosed with autism. She was only speaking a couple of words, maybe I think 4 words, and she was 3 years old, and we were very concerned because sometimes also she would, confine herself when she didn't feel like being around people and wouldn't like to view people on the face when they would speak. So when I heard a chiropractor say how he was using this with children, I said, I'm got to use this with my grandbaby. So I showed it to my son and my daughter-in-law, and they decided to give it to her. And it's only she's going to be now 4 in October, and she's already speaking and very vocal, and she interacts very well with everyone. So we're very happy with Relive, and so we're going to be taking this product for the rest of our lives. And everyone else is happy with the product. I have a couple of friends that are taking it, so I'm glad that they're listening. So thanks everyone for calling in, and it's a great thing to do part time also, because it helps me to pay for my product that I use myself, and I get energy from it, and that's how we use it. That's the first results that we had. We just used it for my husband and I, and my husband can now outdo all his friends that play golf that are even older than him, and we're 65. Younger than him, and so he enjoys it. My granddaughter won her race yesterday, drinking the 24K with the orange juice, and she really loved it. So we're all using the product, and it's been wonderful. So thank you for everything.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I don't know that people understand fully what you're doing. Again, Rose is a medical massage therapist, but what she's done, she has taken all the playbacks from the Stories of Hope call that you heard tonight, and she's gone into the archives, and while her people are on the massage table, she is using the stories of hope. So she'll use one of the playbacks and lets them listen to the testimonies of Relive while she's working, giving them the massage therapy. And what has happened is she has built a Relive business of people who want to know more about Relive because of the stories and the testimonies that they're hearing. And now she has all kinds of people getting results. She mentioned Jody, and Rose, you mentioned that Jody is off a cane, but you really didn't talk about what her issues were. And maybe you can mention what Jody had gone through, the reason that you were working on her.
Well, the reason I was working on her, because she had, like I said, fibromyalgia. She had a car accident 20 years ago, and because of that, she suffered also a brain injury. But it has helped her so much, and she's doing really well on it. And so, like I said, she was walking with a cane, and she doesn't do that anymore. And it's just wonderful to see her, because I remember how much she was suffering with pain.
Yeah. Now, she was also battling with seizures, as I recall?
Oh, yes. And they've subsided tremendously to where, it's only when she forgets to take her product like she's supposed to. And that's one thing, though. We have to be consistent.
Yes.
And and we need to just keep this in our bodies and helping our body's nutrition.
Yeah, the body's the miracle. It's just got to have the right fuel. And if we'll faithfully put it in, some pretty wonderful things are happening as as we got to hear a whole lot of tonight. Rose, thank you for sharing. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.